Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Adorable treasured fox divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Author by Co. Chi Yi. Audio novels by Novelist. Chapter 271, Reveal 4. The crowds were gasping hard at the claim while their eyes looked on in disbelief at the woman in question. So it turns out Bai Yan's loss of virginity was done at Bai Ruo's orchestration. How old was she back then? Nothing but a teenager and already so vicious and scheming. You lie. Frantic in her demeanor, Bai Ruo rushes up to stop the maid called Lu. Unfortunate for her, she was halted by the escorting soldiers long before she could get near. Crown Princess, from the time you gave birth to the time you married His Highness is but 6 months, yet you declared it's a premature birth and that it's heaven's blessing. The maid's voice had risen into a scream by now. Everyone. I want you all to know that it's all a lie. She had in fact gotten in bed with the Crown Prince long before then and had even been impregnated before marriage. Bloody in her eyes, Bai Ruo wanted to strangle the damn wretch. I've been good to you, why are you doing this to me? Been good to me, in order to make me serve you wholeheartedly, you killed my brother. That's your form of being good to me. The maid was seething with hatred in her eyes. If not for Dai Kang informing her of the truth, then she never would have thought her mistress would be so vicious even to her own people. You lie. Panic had settled into Bai Ruo's eyes. Impossible, I had that matter carried out in secret. How did Lu find out? Furthermore, I know too many of your secrets. That's why you tried to remove me. If not for his lordship's people saving me in time, I would have been dead by now. Cold in her snickering smile, the maid won't be stopped at this point. I'm here today to rip apart that fake mask of yours and to let the world know how cruel and vicious you truly are. You. Under Bai Ruo's murderous gaze, the maid called Lu slowly turns toward Nangongyi's direction. Your Highness, do you know how your mother the Queen died? She was killed by your wife the Crown Princess. On that day, I was charged with keeping watch outside the room. What? This had done it. Clenching his fist until the veins had popped, he questions his wife ruthlessly. Ruo, is what she say true? Husband. Biting her lips, she puts on a pitiful face like she usually does. How can I possibly do something like that? This ungrateful wretch offended me before, that's why I expelled her from our home. This is her form of retaliation. Turning back to the maid, Nangongyi's gaze was gloomy and dark. You say my wife killed my mother. What motive would she have then? Your Highness, do you remember the edict your mother passed that day? It was under the coercion of this woman, that's why she made that order. In order to not let the truth be told, she ruthlessly poisoned your mother the Queen. In actual truth, the Queen had never once wanted to pull Bai Ruo down with her. After all, the Queen was a grandmother and a mother, there's no way she would have carried out with the self-destructive act of informing the king. Unfortunately for everyone, Bai Ruo had become accustomed to being cautious. With such a dangerous loose end hanging around, it's unavoidable she would aim to remove the problem before it festers. Bai Ruo, tell me now, tell me she's lying. Nangongyi had to take in a deep long breath after saying that. There was pain and there was anger, the two most conflicting emotions he could get in a situation like this. He never expected his wife who had warmed his bed all these years to be such a vicious woman. It's not true, husband, please let me explain. It's Lu who's framing me. Miserable in her appearance, Bai Ruo truly had skills when it came to playing with her tears and getting the pity of the crowd. Now the Crown Prince was becoming increasingly suspicious and confused. A part of him wants to believe his wife, yet another part was telling him otherwise and that everything was a plot by Dai Kang and Bai Yan. Crown Prince, seeing how the foolish prince was about to be swayed, the maid decides to chime in now to pull it back in her way. The last thing I want to tell everyone is the truth regarding the miracle of the animal worship incident. When the phenomenon occurred and I reported it to the Crown Princess, she immediately had me spread the word that it's for her son's birth. Chapter 272, Bai Ruo's Doomsday 1. The palace had fallen dead silent once again to the point where even the fatty was looking up towards his mother for answers. To think that message recognizes by the masses were made true by Ruo's intentional spinning. Lu, if you keep accusing me, then I will tear off that mouth of yours. Ruo could no longer keep up her charade as the weak innocent woman. Instead, her face was now twisted and horrific with rage. In response to his wife's appearance, Nangongyi inexplicably backed up to gain some distance. His eyes were gradually filling up with disappointment before turning to anger. Ruo, you've really played me for a fool. If it weren't for that rumor, then how could he have been so inflated with arrogance? If not for that, then why would he have been defaced before the people? Husband. She wanted to make excuses again. Sadly for her, another set of figures were starting to come over from the garden side. The first was in a fortune reader get-up, the second being a woman shrouded by a white-veiled hat that covered her face. All of a sudden, Ruo's eyes were widening in shock. It's bad enough Lu is alive, but why is the long-dead green reader still alive too? Crown Princess, how have you been? Sarcastic in his voice, the one known as Green Reader made no attempt at hiding his hostility. 5 years ago you took away my loved ones and forced me to work for you. I listened to your words and declared the master of the animals was your child. But in the end you still killed my family and even hunted me down. Those who were present were all gasping hard, like a ghostly hand had straight up ripped into their backbones. This Ruo sure is ruthless in her means of making people work for her. Always taking one's family hostage. How did this woman ever get so far without anyone noticing her true self? How laughable. I may be able to read others' fortune, but I could not discern my own. Fortunately, fate didn't end me back then. I was saved by a passing master when I was on the brink of death. Only like that did I have a chance to return for today's revenge. Back then years ago, the main reason why the populace would believe the rumors so wholeheartedly was solely thanks to this fortune reader known as Green Reader. He had never failed in his reads. This was verified by the king himself and had at one point requested this Green Reader to become an official of the court. Pity. Due to his freelancing nature, the man had refused the goodwill. Mr. Green, is what you say absolutely true? Xuanhuan King was shaking down to his very voice. I Green Reader have never lied in my life, the only exception being that occasion 5 years ago under duress. There's been no lacking of remorse for the fortune reader over his folly. If he had known ahead of time that Ruo would kill his family regardless, he would have just revealed the truth instead of making the lie. Unfortunately for him, he had no strength or capability to exact revenge, otherwise he would have returned long ago. So, he's been waiting for an opportunity. Ha 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 ha, the king was laughing maniacally with self-mockery. What a good Ruo, you've been playing us all for fools. Do you know what the consequences are for deceiving the king? Retreating several steps, Ruo bites her lip and lies again. I have done no such thing. When Green Reader left, he was already in cahoots with Lu. I found out about their relationship, that's why I expelled him from my home. Now I understand. Ruo suddenly popped her eyes in enlightenment. Lu, I know you hate me for breaking you up with Green Reader, but you can't frame me like this. I've done nothing wrong to you. Chapter 273, Ruo's Doomsday 2. Towards how outrageously shameless the woman was, the maid called Lu was literally left flabbergasted. For a second there, she didn't even know how to respond. Ruo, I hope what you say is true, otherwise I won't let you off if I find out you are lying to me. Nangongyi Crown Prince purses his lip while a fierce sharpness overtook his gaze. Inwardly the man was still reluctant to believe the truth. After all, they've been sharing the same bed for so many years. How can he believe Ruo would be so vicious? Unfortunately for the prince, the last hope of denial was shattered then when a familiar snicker penetrated into his soul. Like his son, Nangongyuan King had also jolted up from the throne, his eyes filled with incredulous and disbelief. How can it be? Isn't she dead? How can she be standing here? Mother. Mother. The Nangongyi starts stammering in his words. He did not hear it wrong. That voice definitely belonged to his mother the queen. Then that means mother didn't die. Confirming everyone's thought, the woman who was standing behind the fortune reader had come forward to reveal her identity. Palish in her appearance without an ounce of nobility or prestige, this was Ning Dai, the former queen of the kingdom. Mother, what is this all about? I thought you were, the prince nervously asks, afraid what he saw was but an illusion. Like the son of the former queen, the officials of the court were also at a loss over what to do. They wanted to know but knew only the woman herself can give the story. Their anxious eyes had given away their curiosity. Under the hatred-filled gaze from her mother-in-law, Bairuo's pretentious face had finally crumbled into desperation. My son, you best ask your good wife about this matter. That smile was cold, very cold. Back then I trusted her, that's why I made the mistake of handing down a decree for Bai Yan's marriage. I never thought His Majesty would be so angry. And out of worry for me pulling her down, your wife went for my life without hesitation. Ning Dai's iris was spewing flame like it would engulf her target. If it weren't for Lord Kang who had the honor of passing through that night, I fear I would have died along with my servant. Closing her eyes as if reminiscing the past, Ning Dai appears pained by what she experienced. She truly regrets it, regret her past doing and how she nearly lost her life because of Bairuo's lies and deceit. Understanding there's no other possible truth but the truth, Mangongyi Crown Prince slowly turned towards the person. So Luan Green Reader did not lie, everything is your doing. Those eyes only carried with it disgust and utter disappointment as he eyed the woman he called wife. He can ignore the maid, he can ignore that fortune reader, but he can never ignore his own mother. For a moment there, his very stomach was churning so badly that he nearly threw up on the spot. That's how disgusted he felt for sharing a bed with this woman. Tell me, are all those stories about Bai Yan fake? Are they all lies that you made up? The most laughable part out of all of this was how gullible he himself was. He actually believed everything without confirming a word of it. Husband. Bairuo can no longer keep her composure and fell into a panic. Taking to her knees, she pleads, please have mercy on my life. No matter what, I gave birth to our child. I know I'm wrong. Enough. The prince roars, you still have the nerve to talk about our son. Do you know what you have done? You've ruined Lin's future, ruined his life. Chapter 274, Bairuo's Doomsday 3. Bairuo's hangs her head in defeat. This time, she knows no one can help her. Someone come, send my word. The king was furious, take this woman away for attempting to murder the queen. She is to be executed immediately. As soon as the word, executed, came forward, the deceitful woman finally showed some panic. Climbing up from the ground, she pleads for mercy by slamming her head against the ground. Father, I know I am wrong, please have mercy on me for Lin's sake. I am your grandchild's mother, at least give me a quick death. You are not qualified to mention Lin. In fact, you are not even worthy of being his mother after what you did. What are you people still standing there for? Drag this woman away. I don't want to see her again. There's definitely disgust in the king's face, but more than that were remorse and regret in his heart. If he had known Bai Yan would have such achievement one day, then he should have insisted on going through with the marriage back then. Now, because of this wretched woman, the royal family had ended up missing out on an amazing member. Nangongyi, seeing her pleading was pointless, Bairuo instead turns towards her husband. How do you think you got into your position today? If it weren't for me spreading those rumors, then the title as crown prince never would have fallen to you. And now, you're just going to leave me behind after crossing the bridge. Don't think it's that easy. Don't forget, Lin is your only child. If you don't save me, then our son will definitely hate you forever. Her seething rage cannot be covered up by that beautiful face. In response, Mangongyi only snickered a laugh. I'm the crown prince of Lu Huo, what woman can't I get if I wish for it? Ho ho, Bairuo sneered, let me tell you something. Back when I gave birth to Lin, I have already drugged you. Aside from our son in this lifetime, you can never produce another child. What did you say? Nangong Yi's expression instantly went stiff as a bloodthirst overtook his eyes. I dare you to say it again. No wonder. For so many years none of the other concubines could conceive for me. So it's Bai Ruo's doing. How can I allow my man to produce children with another woman? And besides, having Lin is enough for you. Don't think you can ever conceive another son in this lifetime. In truth, the man didn't hold that much care even after his son Lin lost the halo of being the destined child. After all, it's just one son less, he can always make more. But now things are completely different. Without the ability to conceive another, the current situation will be devastating for him. Bitch. I'm going to kill you. Using those big hands of his, Nangong Yi really wanted to choke the vicious bitch to death at this moment. However, instead of getting the expression that he wants, Bai Ruo only smirked while her face went purplish-green from suffocation. She wants to die, at least by her husband's hand will be swifter than being executed by the laws of the kingdom. Bang! Sadly for Bai Ruo, things won't end so easily. Before she could succumb to her end, a razor-sharp dagger had landed on Nangong Yi's hand, forcing him to release that grip. For a while there, the only thing the crowd could look at was the woman in red. She was gorgeous under that brilliant sun. To call her an incarnation of a flower here was no understatement. Bai Ruo, you think I will let you die so easily after inflicting so much pain onto me? From that faint smile of gentle warmth, her pupils soon turned sharp and frostily cold. Chapter 275, Bai Ruo's Doomsday, 4. Stiffening in her body, all levels of despair was now fully visible on her face. Bai Yan, my greatest regret is not killing you back then. Even until now in her moment of doom, Bai Ruo still doesn't repent and pins all the blame onto her half-sister. If Bai Yan is dead then I wouldn't be in this situation. It's all her fault. No. What you should be regretting about is framing me, she raises a smirk of ridicule. If all you wanted is to marry Nangong Yi then you could have done so without harming me. Yet, you chose to frame me, that's why I won't let you have an easy ending. When her sentence done, Bai Yan then turns towards one of her subordinate, Lady Chu, take her away for Hua Luo, she will know what to do with her. Bai Ruo had become bleakish from fear. She knows what awaited her now will be a fate worse than death. Understood, mistress, the woman readily complies and came forward from the crowd. Bai Ruo, should I drag you or do you want to walk with me? From white to green, all Bai Ruo could do was bite her lips right now because her tongue refuses to work. It seems you want to make things difficult. Showing a smashing smile, Lady Chu wasted no time to drag the uncooperative woman away for the outside. Watching everything from the sideline, Nangong Lin wanted to go help. However, his feet wouldn't budge an inch and could only shiver there with his obese body. This was true even when his mother was being towed right past him. In response to this epic case of cowardice, Bai Ruo could only feel disappointment. She can scheme and plot against everyone in this world, but she had honestly done everything in her powers to give this son the best. Yet, when the time comes all she got in return was a son that only knows how to shrink backwards like a turtle. Mother, Nangong Lin's expression was very cowardly. Before he could finish his sentence, that womanly figure was already dragged away in front of him. My queen. It was then Nangong Yuan King turns his sight at Ning Dai. It's good that you are back. I will have the maids prepare the bedchamber for you. Shuddering at the remark, Ning Dai only lowered her head. There's no need. I am now living in the Poison Valley. The master of the Poison Valley is treating me well so I won't be returning. During her time in the Poison Valley she had never been given a break, constantly being used as a test subject for various drugs and poisons. However, her heart had never felt such peace and tranquility before. No need for constant scheming, no need to compete with other women, and most importantly, she doesn't need to fight for a man that doesn't love her back. Nangong Yuan was rather stunned by the choice. Poison Valley. Are you talking about the middle-class power, that Poison Valley? Ning Dai would of course not miss the glimmer of cunning in the king's eye. Making a faint smile, she spells out the truth for him. Your Majesty wants to use me as a connection with the Poison Valley, correct? I'm afraid that won't be possible. I'm but a test subject of insignificant standing. If you force me to stay, then it might anger the master. Getting seen through so easily, the king became a tad embarrassed. If you are so intent on that decision, then I won't stop you. I will have someone escort you back. Thank you, Your Majesty. Showing a mild smile, Ningdai began to take her leave. However, before she does, she first made a slight bow at Daikang before turning her sight over to Bai Yan. Chapter 276, High Profile by House. Miss Bai Yan, I know I did a lot of wrong things that day and have reflected upon them at the Poison Valley. If not for you and his lordship, I wouldn't have had a chance of getting a new lease on life. For that, I thank you. There was no arrogance nor grace to be found, only calm and indifference like she's seen through her life. Towards this drastic change in personality, Bai Yan can truly feel the change in the queen and not some sort of act. This time I came back just to expose Bai Ruo's true face and the things she had done. Now that my goal is complete, it's time I left too. Towards this genuine attitude, Bai Yan had no reason to mock the woman. Showing a mild smile, she replied in earnest, it's good that you can come to terms with this. As for Bai Ruo, my subordinates will make sure she wished she was dead instead being alive. If so, then that's good. Towards Bai Ruo, how can Ningdai not hate her? She was earnestly good to the girl, treated her like a real daughter. In the end, what she got in return was heartless ruthlessness. Aside from exposing Bai Ruo today, Ningdai also wanted to relish in the pain of Bai Ruo's suffering afterwards. However, now that the girl had fallen into Bai Yan's hand, she knew what awaited in the future will be a fate worse than death. At the very least, it's far worse than what the king can dish out with the death penalty. Just like that, Ningdai had left the palace. Not giving anyone to stop her, not her son, not her husband, no one. It's as if the palace and all those who occupies it was never part of her life, nor was it her home. Bai Yan, Mengongyi showed regret, pain, and apology in his eyes as he faced that enchanting face. But more than those emotions, there's jealousy in his heart. He was jealous of Daikang being able to be with that woman that was once supposed to be his. It's piercing to his eye that it hurts. It should have been mine. Bai Yan should have been mine. That mesmerizing face, that near-perfect body, and her son should have been all mine. Ignoring whatever was on the prince's mind, Bai Yan never once returned that heated gaze. Instead, she only came before the old dowager to help support the granny. Did the scene give you a scare just now? Replying with a shake of her head, the dowager only felt the need to pat Bai Yan's hand. Child, you finally reached the brightness at the end of the tunnel. I can now be relieved that I didn't fail your mother's trust in me. Pursing her lips at the mention of Lanyu, Bai Yan could not bring herself to say more. Emotions were a difficult thing to say, and she was no different in this respect. Child, can you come with me? I have something to give you. Okay. Though she and the dowager had but a few actual meetings in reality, even so, her closeness to this old queen was no less than her bond with the Lan family. This strange connection was something Bai Yan can't quite understand, nevertheless it doesn't hinder her understanding that the affections were true and genuine. In response to Bai Yan departing first and leaving him behind, Daikang didn't get angry, nor did he force his way to tag along. Instead, he turns his focus over to Nangongyi, Crown Prince. Bring him away for me. Yes, your lordship. Two of the soldiers readily complied with the man's order. Lord Kang. The king was shocked. This is Bai Ruo's fault. My son did no wrong. You. Before that sentence could finish, Daikang's gloomy and threatening gaze had already swept over to shut him up. His biggest mistake is trying to eye my wife. Retracting his devilish gaze from the prince, Daikang was overbearing and unyielding. Whoever dares to plead for Nangongyi will face the same punishment as him. Frightened silly by the statement, not even Xuanhuan himself could say more. He may be the king, but in front of this dangerous man who could literally destroy his kingdom, the choice was obvious. This reaction didn't only apply to the mortal commoners, even those from the demon beast sect had to take a step backwards under that powerful aura. It was suffocating just being close to this figure. How can there be such a terrifying person in this world? Elder Thunder instinctively wipes his forehead despite there being no sweat at all. Even worse is he's Sir Xuanhuan's father. Chapter 277, High Profile by House 2. Brother. In the end, even after her hesitation and lip biting, Xuanhuan worked up her courage to say hello to Dai Kang. What are you doing here? The man's brow instantly furrowed upon contact with that troublesome figure. His look was no different from someone just discovering some kind of filth that needs to be tossed away. Now that did it. Xuanhuan became so aggrieved by that attitude that she nearly broke into a cry. How can he look at me like that when I've been standing here for so long? And to make it seem like I'm something dirty too. Is he even my brother? Wahhhhh. Since you are here, then you stay behind to look after Xuanhuan. If anything happens to him, then I'm going to make you pay. With that said, the devilishly figure was already gone. He came quickly but was also gone quickly. However, the man had also left with Nangongyi Crown Prince in tow, so that's one difference. As for the fate of this once proud prince of the kingdom, who knows? One thing was certain though, it can't be good. Aggrieved by how easily she was tossed aside, Xuanhuan starts moping to her nephew instead to get some comfort. Her lips biting her skirt like a wronged child. My adorable Xuanhuan, how can your father be so horrible? At the very least, I'm his sister who grew up with him. How can he not notice my existence until I went up to him? Don't be sad, auntie. I won't be as bad as Batty father. I won't ignore you, okay? Seeing the girl's pitiful appearance, Xuanhuan was also afflicted and sighed. Pretending to be a small adult, he starts patting the girl on the head to soothe her sadness. Really? Her eyes lit up. However, she quickly covered it up by continuing on with her act. Then you have to give me a kiss on the cheek. Mother said men and women mustn't do that. Wrinkling his lovely brow, Xuanhuan was ready to refuse the proposal outright when he noticed the tears quickly building up in the girl's eye. Helpless against that demeanor, he sighed and submitted, that, I guess it's fine if it's just one kiss. He simply couldn't bear to see his auntie be so sad. Therefore, he made it quick and gave the girl a small smooch on the cheek, which had the side effect of causing that beautiful face to bloom like a flower. Auntie, are you better now? Of course. As if he can make me sad. Xuanhuan knocks her chin up high. If it weren't for you and sister-in-law being here, then I wouldn't even bother to see him. This time it was baby boy's turn to crack in his expression because he just realized he's been scammed. Did she just cheat me? I got fooled by this sweet dumberklutz auntie of mine. I want to see mother. At least the very least mother would never cheat me, and it's always me who secretly learns a kiss on mother. Whoosh! Stretching out his neck towards the boy, the glass dragon issues out a low moping sound as a form of protest. That wagging tail was no different from a pleading dog asking for something. I also want kiss. Likely understanding what the dragon meant, his expression immediately turned into an angry one. Glass dragon, you are so ugly in a male no less. I am not going to give you a kiss. Humph. No kiss then no kiss. Retreating back to his original spot in grievance, the dragon then got the fine idea of turning his sight somewhere else. Fine then, I can go ask Demon Queen to kiss me instead afterwards. Glass dragon, if you dare ask mother to kiss you, then my mother will kill you. Even if mother doesn't, then my father will. The boy kindly gives this reminder, which directly causes the dragon to freeze there. Of the two mentioned individuals, neither one were people he wanted to infuriate. If he does, the dragon knows his little master there will be having roast dragon that very same night. Ellipsis. Shortly thereafter the end of the event, most of the people who came to witness the occasion had already left, with the children being escorted by the royal guards for resting in the prepared rooms. However, there were still some who were both shocked and frightened among these individuals. So it was Boruo who intentionally leaked the rumor out of Nangong Lin being the destined child. To think I believed it so earnestly all these years. Chapter 278, High Profile by House 3. Bo Ruo really is hateful to the extreme. Not only did she steal Bai Yan's position as the crown princess back then, she also had her son steal the prestige of being the destined child. Such shamelessness, I really have to wonder where she gets the nerve to pull off such lies. And to think the Bai house was still being so high profile. After this matter gets out, then they can forget about ever showing their faces to the public. Hearing all these whispering gossips about his family, Mangonglin became helplessly weak as he stood there alone in the backyard of the palace. His father and mother were taken away, meaning he's alone now. And his grandfather the king was now practically ignoring him and wouldn't even send the boy a glance. A child raised into a cripple was no different from a useless garbage. That's Nangonglin right now. Ellipsis. Somewhere over at a tea house, Bai Xiao was currently enjoying a tea with his friend at the moment. Wei King, how are you doing recently? This translation is only hosted on BK Translation. Sitting in front of him was the young man saved by the Dan pill he used back then. Giving a faint smile, Wei King was frank in his reply, my body is mostly recovered. I really have to thank you for last time. I never expected to meet you again back there. You saved me back then years ago. If not for your help, I would have been dead already. That's the least I can do. Don't say it like that. It's no big deal for what I did back then. Please don't take it to heart and think that way. Wei King was reluctant to drag Bai Xiao into his business, that's why he's downplaying his help. Going up again the medicine sect was no laughing matter and he's not so damnable to drag his friend down with him. Seeing how Wei King wouldn't tell him more, Bai Xiao knew better than to push it. However, he wanted to show his support nevertheless. Wei King, the reasoning I saved you back there wasn't just because of your help years ago, it's because I treasure you as my friend. For a friend, I'm willing to go all the way regardless of the ordeal. Thank you, brother. Tapping the boy on the shoulder, Wei King issues out a joyous laugh. It's fine, I really don't need your help for the time being. Oh yes, the Dan pill is from your sister, right? I still haven't had the chance to thank her personally yet. Because of his injuries, Wei King was never arranged to stay inside the old manor, hence the reason why he never got to meet Bai Yan. Bang! It was then a forceful palm slammed down at the table in front of the two boys. Wrinkling his brow, Bai Xiao looks up to see who these unwelcomed intruders were. It was Yu Rong and her entourage. Like her daughter, old Madame Yu was also showing disdain in her old face as if mocking the youngsters for their foolishness. The only exception here was by Zheng Xiang that was standing emotionless on the sideline. His demeanor was like someone looking at a stranger and not his son. Bai Xiao, you must be surprised that you would have this day, right? Smickering a laugh, Yu Rong starts rambling off on her own. So what if your sister Bai Yan is strong? Now my grandson Lin has the backing of the demon beast sect, we no longer need to fear the flower brothel. Angered by the remark, Wei King was ready to stand up for a fight when Bai Xiao stopped him with a tug. Scram! Bai Xiao stares coldly at the snobbish group. Yu Rong was screaming red in her face at the blatant disregard. This little shit still dare to speak out in this situation. Chiming in at this moment, old Madame Yu sure knows when to add salt to a wound. Daughter, why are you bothering to speak with a dying man? Lin will soon become the disciple of the sect leader. When the time comes, these siblings will have nothing to say then. Getting better in her composure at the reminder, Yu Rong turns back to her gloating self. That's right. My grandson Lin is someone that is beyond the likes of you. When the time comes, I like to see if you will still dare disobey his orders. She pauses, letting her words sink in before continuing on with her rant. Even Dai Kang, that man will soon be Ji's husband. Although Ji had been shaved bald on the head by that Dai Xiaowan and was even imprinted with a marking of bitch on her forehead, but with the demon beast sect's order, how can they refuse? Chapter 279, The face-slapping sure is loud. Bai Xiao, out of consideration that you are my son, I will only ask you this one time. Do you want to return to the family? Looking at the man's expressionless face, the boy only had contempt left in his response. Now that you've lost the bastard child in Yu Rong's belly, you are turning back to me. What a shame. Aside from my sister Bai Yan, I have no other family members. Not you, and mostly certainly not these wretched people. How dare you? Bai Zhengxiang's was greatly irritated there. Did you not hear what we've been telling you? Lin is about to become the little sect leader of the demon beast sect. His status will be beyond what any one of us can be at. If you don't return to us, then you can forget about the benefits that is soon to be ours. Several days ago the man himself would still be hesitant to reveal this news to the public. After all, it's not set in stones yet back then. However, this morning his daughter Bai Ruo had already informed him of this great news and was even summoned by the king for an audience. If his daughter was going to the palace, then it can only mean good things. This translation is only hosted on BK Translation. Towards the bold statement, the occupants of the tea house was now in an uproar. These people may be commoners, but the name of the demon beast sect was a behemoth that cannot be trifled with, especially for a small kingdom like this. Nangong Lin is about to become the little sect leader of that power. That's no different from a chicken ascending into a phoenix. What a bombshell of a news. I, Bai Seo, would rather wander in the wild with my sister Bai Yan than to stay in the Bai house. Firm and steady in his voice, wherever she goes I go, I will never leave her in this lifetime. All right, good, I hope you won't regret your decisions today. Livid in his face, Bai Zhengxiang no longer cares at this point. In his view, the boy will surely regret it in the future. Let's go, we're leaving. Throwing these last few words behind, the man turns away to leave. Unfortunately for him, he didn't make it very far before bumping into someone that he knew outside the tea house. The other person was a middle-aged man with a sword-like eyebrow and lip. What a coincidence, Lord Bai, what are you still doing here? General Lin Da. Bai Zhengxiang wasn't so friendly in his reception. He and this general had always been at odds in the court, so how can he be good in his expression? What does it have to do with you about me being here? Shouldn't you be at the palace right now? The beast taming event is over, so of course I would be leaving the palace. General Lin Da's smile was so full of mockery and ridicule that it's too obvious. Beast taming? What beast taming? Bai Zhengxiang asks, confused by the strange statement. Putting on a pretentious look of astonishment, General Lin Da was enjoying this so much. The demon beast sect had brought over a huge dragon today for the event. They wanted the children of the kingdom to participate in the taming event so they can verify who the destined child is. In no time at all, the gazes of everyone still inside the tea house had fallen onto the members of the Bai house. Didn't he say the demon beast sect is here to take Nangong Lin into their ranks? Why did it turn into a beast taming event? Humph. Unfazed by the news, Bai Zhengxiang coldly replies, my grandson will certainly succeed in taming the dragon. That's undeniable. If Lin is unsuccessful, then there's no need to even mention the other children. Now that did, General Lin Da could no longer keep up his charade and broke into a laughing fit. Tears of joy was leaking out of his sides because of that intense crackle. Lord Bai's grandson is indeed amazing. He actually had the nerve to go up front to touch the dragon while the others would weep and cry just by getting close. Unfortunately though, the dragon only needed to issue out a roar to send your grandson scrambling back in tears like a mouse. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 280, Bai Zhengxiang's despair. Bai Zhengxiang's smug face finally crumbled under the laughing mockery of the general. Annoyed, he roars out, what nonsense are you spouting? Nonsense. General Lin Da snickered in contempt at the man's foolishness. The others will soon be returning from the palace like I am. The world will know by then. When the time comes you will see for yourself if I'm talking nonsense or not. Ashen in his face, Bai Zhengxiang could no longer control his body and started to tremble. Meanwhile, his wife rushes forward at the general in a frantic scream. I'm going to tear apart your mouth for spreading lies. How can my grandson Lin fail? Impossible. If it was in the past, General Lin Da would still hold some hesitation at the Bai house because of the connection with the Crown Prince. But now, without holding back, the general sends a major stomp at the woman's chest and sent Yurong flying back. Damn mad bitch. Patting his hands together to remove the dust, he smeared even harder. You people can't be any better to raise a daughter like Bai Ruo. Oh yes, your disgrace of a daughter already admitted to plotting against Bai Yan from back then. It's Bai Ruo who made her lose her chastity. Don't tell me you don't know about that. Freezing in his body, Bai Zhengxiang awkwardly turned towards his wife. Is it true? It's really Bai Ruo who did it? No. Yurong roared out her answer without a second thought. However, that pang of panic and fear could still be noticed by her man. Biting her lip, Yurong truly fits being a deceitful bitch like her daughter. How can our daughter be like that? She's so kind and gentle, there's no way that's true. Why should I frame her? General Lin Da smirked at the irony here. After Bai Ruo confessed to everything, do you know what else we heard? She killed her own maid's very brother to make the girl work wholeheartedly for her. Then there's Green Reader's family. She took him hostage to make the man say Mengong Lin is the destined child of that phenomenon. Boom. Compared to the news of Bai Ruo framing her half-sister Bai Yan, this one was far more explosive. Alas, Bai Xiao brother could no longer take in another word from his end. His mind was too preoccupied by the news of Bai Ruo ruining his sister. Bai Ruo deserves to die. A touch of murderous intent starts exuding out of the handsome boy due to rage. How dare you hit me? The demon beast sect will never let you off for this. Climbing up from the ground, Yurong was so full of anger in her face that she can kill with her eyes alone if she can. General Lin Da did not care for the threat, nor does he care to give the ragged woman another glance. The last thing I want to say is Bai Ruo's attempt at murdering the queen. Guess what? Her Highness didn't die and stood up today to point out your daughter's crime in front of everyone. Now, she can't even protect herself anymore. Nearly collapsing due to the horrifying shock, Bai Zhengxiang was close to despairing at this point. Impossible. How can Lin fail, and how can my daughter murder the queen? Seemingly afraid the shocking blow wasn't enough, the general follows up with another strike. Oh yes, there's another important part that I forgot to tell you. Do you know who successfully tamed the dragon? Stiff and stammering in his voice, Bai Zhengxiang asked anyways, who? It's Bai Xiaocan. He successfully domesticated the dragon, and he is the real destined child of that phenomenon. Popping his eyes incredulously, Bai Zhengxiang's had trouble coming to terms with what his ears were telling him. Bai Xiaocan, how can it be that little rascal? Mother, Yurong suddenly exclaimed, running to catch his fainting mother that could no longer withstand the multiple shocks of reality. End of the chapter. Adorable treasured fox divine Dr. Mother Overturning the Heavens, will be read in 10 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.